Good day, everybody. Welcome to yet another video. I am Canaman Gaming, more commonly known as Ethan, and I'm here with my awesome friend, Mr. Easy12, Gamer12. So, just a couple of things from my end. I apologize for the absence. I'm pretty sure Easy has done a lot of PR on my part, but the reason why I have been absent is I've just finished up my degree. I now have a Bachelor of Social Science with a major in International Relations, so that is now out the way. And then also it was Christmas. I just wasn't in the mental space and I needed a break and I didn't feel like making a big hoorah about it. But we are back and we are here. So yeah, today's video we are going to be doing vehicles that we'd like to see come to War Thunder. But that's it from my end. I'll let Easy take over.
Okay, welcome everyone to our channels. Welcome Canaman Gaming to this video that we are pre-recorded. We not doing a live stream. Welcome to the video. Thank you for joining me on this and this nice, interesting discussion. The other thing is, ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to go check out Canaman Gaming's YouTube channel. There will be a link to his Discord and his Patreon and everything in the links below for this video on Friday. Don't forget to hit the subscribe, like, and comment button and share, please, on both of our channels. We are trying really hard to grow our channels, so just give us that 5 seconds. They're not even 5 seconds, a millisecond. Just hit that subscribe button. It would be really greatly appreciated. We do take... People might think that we rush these videos, but it does take some thought to actually do them. And then when we do them, it looks like they're rushed. But we do plan them out. So...
I promise it's not just smashed together. There is actually method to our madness. It
Yeah,
just doesn't look like it.
yeah,
I promise. We're not complete idiots.
yeah. So it takes us sometimes weeks to discuss something and to put it together. And we are learning a lot from both of our sides on our channels. And it's a new year. We would like to see our channels grow exponentially. And we would really love to bring you guys better and even better content going forward. And that's basically it. And without you guys, we wouldn't be here. So it does show there is
Yeah,
some
I mean,
interest in our content.
yeah, no, definitely.
But yeah,
But like on that note though, guys, like it does mean a lot to us when you guys do leave a comment, even if it's just a hi. It just gives us a little bit of hope, that we're not just throwing ourselves into this endless abyss. Because I mean, I'm sure somebody knows or some other YouTuber who has not had a good career and has either decided to quit or has resorted to other means, in more extreme cases. And at the end of the day, as Easy says, we are here because of because you guys have the same interests as what we do. So if you guys have any suggestions, I mean, like, if you have for example, I'm looking at doing a video with Easy on aircraft that we would like to see come to War Thunder. So maybe there's an idea. Why don't you guys let us know down below what aircraft you guys would like to see come to War Thunder? Is it an experimental aircraft? Those sort of things. Like, guys, like, get involved. We absolutely love chatting to you guys, and it means a lot to us. And every little bit helps because we are just little South Africans trying to grow our YouTube channels in a big way. So, without further ado, I think let us get on
I've
into it. We're going
just
to start
got
with Easy's.
I
We're
just
going to
got
start with Easy's stuff.
I just got
Yeah. So after Easy,
one more thing to add before we start. Sorry, Cataman.
no, all good.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Um, we have got on our Discords, which will be linked in the descriptions below. We have got links to our Discords, and on our Discords are suggestion pages and all of that. Even on our Patreons, you can make suggestions and that.
Yeah.
We do appreciate any info that you give us. We do make the videos on you. I got a whole list from someone that I'm playing another game with. He gave me a whole list of weapons, and I kind of asked him, and I said, "Dude, you know what? I'm not as clued up as you are with the guns. Really, I am not that clever. My information comes from research. Thanks, Cannon Man, the same. We are not the smartest people underneath the sun. We know what we know, and that's about it. We are learning every day as we go, as we read about these vehicles, do research about them, and there is so much out there to learn about these vehicles. You can read 20 articles and 20 articles will tell you every time something new. It is a fantastic experience. But I kind of said to him, why doesn't he join me on these videos? Why doesn't he help me with the gun videos to improve the gun videos? So we're always looking for help. We're always looking for people to come and streamline our production, as we kind of can say it. So if you've got an idea or suggestion, even if it's an improvement comment, we are more than happy to take it. Leave the comment, come onto our Discord, tell us, listen, guys, can't you just do this, improve this, do this, that? You guys are more than welcome to. So yeah, that's, I think, quite a long intro already.
Quickly though, before we do get in and before Easy takes us away with one of his 3 tanks, so with news on Project Zero, I think
Yes, important.
we've put off talking about this for quite a while, and that is again because of December. But Project Zero, myself and Easy, we've talked, and we have reached a decision. So Project Zero is going to be dumbed down to a lot, not quite not a smaller level, but it's going to be made a lot more streamlined. More news of that and more involvement from you guys in that is always welcome and is available, or our contact rather is available through our Discord. Get involved, guys. We need you, and I think it's going to be an epic project. We are looking for people to play the tanks, and some, I think what was DayZ for opening scene. But we are looking for warthunder players. We're looking for players who have a vast array of tanks. We still haven't quite decided what tanks specifically, but we are looking, I think we came to the agreement between rank 3 and rank 6 or rank 7. So basically from BR 4.0 up to say 8.3, 9.0 kind of thing, with the odd exceptions of a 12.0. And we are looking for people with some aircraft maybe. You know, we are looking for people with those kind of vehicles. So if you do have any of the above, get in touch with us. Discord is there, and we I might not visibly be there, but I am always in my Discord, and Easy is always in his. It's going to be epic, guys. That's all I'm going to say. I can't say more, but we are working forward, and there's more to come on that in our next video. Also, quickly from my side before I start, or before Easy starts rather, I'm going to be streaming. When you guys see this, I'll be streaming later. So get in touch with that one, because it will be on a Friday, and I'll be doing a community stream. Obviously, if I am not otherwise engaged, but we'll find out about that as we go along. Without further ado, Easy, which vehicles does you have, sir?
Okay.
Where would you like to go?
I will start with the one you got on screen now. Now, we are recording these in different formats, ladies and gentlemen, so please bear with us. We were discussing about April's Fools and events coming up, even Battle Pass events. I always mention that in my videos, my review videos of that. And we kind of discussed that we thought, what would actually be pretty cool as event vehicles or even for Battle Pass? So, ladies and gentlemen, just take this with like salt. It doesn't also necessarily mean, doesn't necessarily mean it will come in. Like Monday's video that released was the YFM Air whatever, that aircraft. And someone commented, Gaijin will only implement it if they could make money off such a cool aircraft. So take this stuff with a pinch of salt. It doesn't mean it's coming to the game. This is stuff we are putting out there that are not well known, or we think they're not well known. Let's put it along those lines. So the first one on my list is a hybrid tank. Now, there is some thicky things to it. We'll get into the article. But it's a T-34 with an Su-76 gun on it. Su-76, okay. So basically, let me get to my article. Candyman's got the article on his stream. It's from the People's Republic of Poland, 1955. Self-propelled gun. Probably, and take emphasis on probably fake. Because in this article, there are CIA reports and American reports actually looking into if this thing was actually produced, and there's no concrete evidence that it was produced. It wasn't. So it's just a pretty cool design. Candyman has got the pictures up of it. So what they basically took, they took an exceptionally well built, okay, not well built, but a good tank, because the T-34s weren't that well built, and they decided they've got a lot of these Su-76 guns, which were very good during the war, and they merged the two, like the French did, like the Romanians did with the French tanks. A lot of countries did it after the war, trying to build up armor forces, and I think it would have been actually a very, very cool tank to see in real life, and I think it would have actually been quite potent in real life. Actually, I don't know what you think about it.
I'm busy as I'm scrolling through the documents, and people on my side will be able to see this. And obviously, Easy's going to put up the necessary things on his video. Also, please go check out Easy's channel; it's great stuff. But I'm just looking at like the comparison table that they've got up here. It's about halfway through the document, I think. Um, and I think you are correct in a number of ways. And I'm not just saying that obviously because I like you, because you're awesome, but there are a lot of things here that are viable, especially for a War Thunder setting, right? I mean, if I go up in this document a bit to the ammunition types, you've got APHE, you've got AP, so solid shot AP, you've got HE, and you've also got heat, which is, as they say here, it's still a potential threat on the Western European battlefield in the 1950s, even though in all practical terms it was an obsolete platform. And I mean, that is the case.
Yeah,
You look at the SU-76, sorry, and specifically the M, because that often gets dropped, but SU-76M. And when we look at when it was built in the very, very early days of the 1940s, 1930s, right? Um, so already by the time of the Second World War, and particularly by the time of Barbarossa, it's an already dated platform. And when the Russians come under attack during Operation Barbarossa, the Su-76 was their only answer, or I say only, one of their better answers to a lot of the German armor, particularly the lesser panzers that they encountered in reconnaissance. And also, bear in mind, the Su-76 is a self-propelled gun, so it does function as short-range artillery
as
in
well.
this case.
Yes, and that's what the Russians.
It's got that dual purpose aspect.
The Russians
Um,
did actually use this family of guns as artillery,
mm,
where they weren't getting used in the anti-tank role. And what a lot of
yeah.
people make the mistake, and it drives me. Now I'm gonna sound like Laser Pig. It drives me bloody bonkers. Is they think
Mhm.
when Operation Barbarossa was started, there were these hordes of T-34s running to the front lines to meet the Panzer ones and twos, which is absolutely ludicrous. The
Mm.
T-34 was still in early production time when that was happening.
Yeah, I mean, they had probably, I think, if I remember the statistics correctly, they had less than 500 T-34s in production.
Yes, and they were
And that's
most
that's not saying they were off the line. Like those were tanks that were just finishing production, if I'm not
production.
mistaken.
And the few that they had was on the Chinese front, the western, not the southern, the side with China,
Eastern
and
Front.
yeah, the eastern front with the China, because they were
Yeah.
worried of another push from China from that side. That's why when they signed the peace accord, or the non-treaty with China, they started drawing all those troops and tanks from that side. The main
Mm.
steadfast tank of the USSR during World War II was your T-26, and what was that other little BT family of tanks? Those were the main,
BTs 5, 7.
yeah,
Yeah.
those were the mainstay tanks of the Russian, and then the KV-2, but was also in very limited numbers. KV-1s were also in very limited numbers. That's why I think
Yeah, and I'm,
this tank will fit in pretty well, and I think it will be such a unique thing.
yeah, and I mean, like, also just the historical context, right? Like, you've got to bear in mind that this is obviously post World War. So the T-34s are slightly outdated because
Mm,
you've got things like the Centurions coming out. You've got things like longer range artillery coming out on the European side, and then the Russians, they don't really have an answer to it, and they've got a whole bunch of platforms lying around. So they're like, well, why the hell not merge them?
mm,
And look, I mean, you guys can see the stats here. You can read them for yourselves as we're talking. But the SU-27 or SU-76 hybrid is, I mean, look, if we're looking at it again in a War Thunder context, it's got an estimated crew of 4 to 5, which makes it incredibly survivable. It's got a pretty average length, pretty average width. The height again is not out of the out of the realm of sanity, if I can say it like that. It is quite light. It's estimated 23 tons. It is a casemate. It's got 30 millimeter rounded mantlets, so not a whole lot of armor. 60 millimeters and 15 millimeters on the side and back and rear respect, and it's got nothing on the top because it is an open top tank. And I think that's something that you know needs to be noted. Those particular armor values, right? Is that a lot of people will go, "Oh, this tank's going to be crap. Oh, this tank's going to be this, that, the next thing." This is not going. If this does get added, a Gaijin sees this video and they go, "Hey, that's a good tank." Um, it's not going to get added anything higher than the earliest T-34s, which makes it really fun to play because this is again a issue 76. I keep wanting to say issue 27. This is the issue 76 T-34 hybrid. So you're looking at a T-34 early production, which is, I think, at this point in time, there's one that is 4.0 in the Russian tech tree, and the issue 76 is at, I think, 1.3. So you're looking at anything between those two battle ratings, right? So it's not going to be at the upper echelons. It's not going to be this insanely broken tank,
No.
but it is going to be fun, and I think that's why Easy has chosen this. Is even just looking at this thing. I mean, if I go all the way back up to the top here, right? That looks like a fun tank. I'm going to be honest with you. I'd play the shit out of that because that is a derpy tank, and it looks a little bit like the SAV 20 what.
Yeah.
The 6-second Western shooter autoloader thing for the Swedes. If that's in the game, why can't this be?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I have to say. I think we should move on to the next one.
Yeah, it's just I found this just by luck actually, and when I saw this and I just saw the picture of it and I was like, damn, this thing looks so cool. And I went down, and my honest opinion, this would either make a great crafting event vehicle, or will be a very good battle pass vehicle.
Yeah.
I'm a big, huge fan of anyone that knows my channel for years. I've always said Gaijins should stick to the battle pass. Stop adding P-51 Mustangs in and French tanks that no one wants and stuff, and add unique things like it used to be when the first 2-3 battle passes came out. Then people might take part, because I've stopped with the battle pass completely just because they have messed it up. And I think this is the type of stuff that they must include to make it, give it back that uniqueness that it's missing. So I think that's all I've got to say on this matter.
Cool. Shall we go to the T-52? So we're just going to run through easy stuff first, and then we'll go to mine.
Can you like put up pictures of the T-52?
I do indeed. So also, guys, these images, as you can see, are not ours. So I am in no way taking credit, and neither is Easy.
Yes.
So yeah, just letting you guys know. But this is the pictures that we were able to find of the tank.
Okay, now this is a unique, very cool vehicle, guys. What someone thought at the most place you would never thought they would have thought of this. They decided, let's take an M4 Sherman, take a ball turret from a bomber, sort of, kind of, put a bit of modifications, put a Bofors 40mm in the middle, and put two M2 Brownie machine guns. I think that's Brownies, or that's 50 cals, I'm not sure. And make an anti-aircraft unit out of it. And the clever designer of this plan thought was a guy from Firestone that came up with this idea. Firestone and tires. Yeah, Firestone Tires and Rubber, that company. That's what it was known back then. So this was their proposal, and you won't actually believe it, the US Army did consider it.
Yeah, they took it to, like, I read through the stuff. We were chatting about it before we started recording, and I was listening to Easy telling me these things. I was reading through the things as well, the little document I had open previously, and I was like, "There's no way, like, really not. Nope, this is a bona fide test
Go to
tested platform. I
that
mean,
picture of yours. That actually looks like a real production type of variant, actual made. Can you
yeah.
enlarge that?
Let's see. I can just do this. But also, I mean, you were saying that that looks unholy.
Yeah.
You were sort of. I don't want to sign up for your newsletter, you bastard. But you were saying that they did test this out.
Yes,
Um,
but they don't specify if they tested it on the whole or they tested the turret separate. But if I'm looking at these pictures, it looks like it is actually a test.
yeah, I
So,
mean, like, well, there's the ball turret. Yeah, there's an actual. Yeah, there you go.
so it was actually kind of can say
Early,
it was made.
yeah, and that looks like the early. That's a cast hull.
Yeah, it looks like an early Sherman. That's
Mm.
why I said the A1, but the A1M or what was the early Sherman?
The M1A1,
Yeah, the
I think it was, or
M1A1.
the M2A1,
Yeah,
M2A1, or something to that effect. But yeah, you guys
yeah.
get the idea. Early Sherman hull with basically a B-17 bull turret and a couple of Brownings. Well, I say Brownings. The Brownings were already there on the B-17 bull turret. But then you've got this massive caliber gun kind of sticking out the middle, which gives it a very derpy look. I mean, it
Mm.
kind of looks like a strange version of Pinocchio. There you go, M4A2
Yeah, the M4A2. I
on
also
this
saw it
particular
now.
on this particular vehicle.
Yeah, I also saw it now. So very cool, unique design that I came across, and I thought, just this. The guys, all these people that say War Thunder is dead, War Thunder is far from dead. There's still a lot they can add to this game, and that is just unholy. No, 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 no. Bypass
This
that.
this makes me cringe so much. But
I
anyway,
know about that thing actually. So
we'll cover this ugly bastard in another video.
I know about
But
that
yeah,
ugly thing. So it's just something that also I believe was like a clever idea, just too early for its time, but also too late for its time. In other words, what
yeah.
I mean by that, the idea was futuristic, but the technology could never allow it at that time. So, and after the war, there was really no need for it after that. So that
I
is
mean, you had the Sam starting to come out and stuff as
stuff.
well.
Yeah. So close. This was. It's just so unique. It's just so cool. I can't get over this design. I mean, I know about the Israelis because I wanted to originally pick an Israeli tank because everyone knows my beef with the Israelis in War Thunder. So I wanted to like pick an Israeli tank, but I never found one. I could have found one. I just never looked for what I wanted. I know
Hmm.
plenty, but I found these instead, and I thought these are pretty cool. You got the Israelis that modified the shit out of the M4 Shermans. You've
Oh
got
yeah.
the
I mean, the
French even
M51
did.
is a good idea.
Yeah, you've got the French. You've got the Egyptians that even took an AMX 13 turret and stuck it on an M4 Sherman. That is a dopey tank, actually. We should do a video on that thing. Um,
We should. We should.
the
Stay tuned,
Syrians,
everybody.
the Syrians modified the shit out of the Panzers. They called them Frankenpanzers. I think they even did the SU 122s. Um, there's just so many unique designs out there that can be added, but there are some even more unique than others. And this is what I thought this fell in. This is so unique. It should be, like I said before we started recording, these vehicles that I've picked, okay, I haven't really looked over Canaman's yet. You can put this on Marketplace and you can sell it for a $200 vehicle. For me, this will be I'm not saying it's a good buy to spend $200 on a virtual vehicle, but I'm saying if you got spare bucks, this will be something unique enough to go pay $200 for, then to go pay $1,000 for a leopard tank on Gaijin Market. This will be the icing for me, the uniqueness to this.
Mhm. But I think that's also like, I mean, it speaks to something you mentioned, that this tank. I mean, whether we know whether it was actually built or not in like a substantial number, we don't actually know. But I mean, I think European Canadian or English Canadian, whatever the hell his name is, he said it really well. The only way forward now, because we've entered into this era of, next generation tanks, as an example. The way forward for War Thunder is adding paper tanks, essentially, if I can say it like that.
Yes.
Um, because we've got most of the tanks that were in main service as it stands. Um, And I agree with Easy. Okay, maybe not for $200,
No, that was just an example.
but I think it's closer to like $200 for us, right? So let's say 15, 20, $30 even.
Yes.
Hell, even $60. I'd pay $60 for something that is as unique as this. And I think if they even didn't bring it in as a say as an event vehicle, have it as a main tech tree vehicle, because this would be quite a very interesting anti-tank vehicle, I think. Especially if you put it at the same BR as the Skink, which I believe is 5.0. But yeah, that's all I have to say on it. Shall we move on to the next one?
I just want to say something quickly. So I just want to touch up on something. The
Mm,
Bofors 40mm is a very good gun. No matter what nation it is in the tech tree, it is
yeah.
it is a good gun. Even though I think sometimes the Swedish Bofors is the best, but it's a
Yeah, I was just about to say the old 62 anti and the
yeah,
Mad Max truck
yeah. But it's it's
with
it's
their loafers are a bit insane.
it is a very good anti-air gun and a very good tank destroyer. Certain tanks you can kill from front, certain tanks you have to unfortunately go from the side. But all round it is a good gun. And
Mm.
they've modeled that's one thing Gaijin has got right is they've modeled the Bofors very well. And
Yeah, I
they
mean even on the ships.
yeah, the 5.0 inches or the 50s on this thing is already in game. And they are very good guns in game to destroy lightly armored vehicles, even early tier aircraft, even some jets they can still take down. So all round you will have, in my opinion, and then the Sherman chassis is even though I hit on the Shermans a lot because it's um, but it is a very good chassis. It's got good frontal good frontal armor. It is a very good tank. So all round, this will be a very good vehicle, I think, to add into the game in a ground attack role, in an anti-air role. It will be very good. If
Yeah, I
Gaijin
mean
wants
obviously there's
if Gaijin
yeah.
wants to mess it up, they could make it OP, but I don't think they should. I think this will be a well all round balanced vehicle. I mean, the turret hall can't be more than 5 millimeters thick. I mean, that's the ball turret. I don't think it can be that
Yeah.
heavily armored. I can't see
No,
it.
no, it's not. But also, I mean, like you were saying when you were reading through this document earlier, like this thing, the reason why they stopped producing it or stopped going forward with testing was because its reverse was so slow.
Yeah,
So there's also another balancing factor. Is like you've got, yes, this insane amount of firepower, but you've got a really slow traverse to kind of balance it out.
it's just
So I think
like
it's going to be,
this the
yeah.
Swedish L11 anti. It's also the
Mm,
turret reverse is so slow. So it's a good balancing for it. The gun will be good, but you'll have the downsides to it. You'll have a good haul, but you'll have the downside with the slow turret reverse. So I think it will just fit in pretty cool. It'll be a well balanced vehicle.
yeah. But shall we go on to the one that I think we're both more interested in than anything else?
Now, are we going to take one variant of it at the moment, not both?
This thing ish. Not quite, but it's close enough. Not a lot of information, I don't think, was very. There's not a lot of information on the internet about this particular vehicle, surprisingly. But yeah, I'll let Easy go into the grips of it. But I think it's a really cool both variants, but particularly the wheeled variant. But I'll let Easy go into it. But I think both of them are pretty cool.
So, what happened? Yeah, the Americans were looking for a new. Okay, first the vehicle is called the one I'm focusing on, but both, like Cataman has said, is actually very very cool. But I'm focusing on the MX 800T. It is the tracked variant. I think Cataman will bring a picture of the tracked variant up. There it is. There, pretty futuristic, pretty nice design. Uh,
It looks a bit like the. It looks a bit like the Saracen. Ach, not Saracen. Is it the Saracen that I'm thinking of?
So the Saracen, yeah, it's got a bit of the Saracen, that lightweight tank that they added a little while ago for one of the events.
Mm.
That's also got that slope there. It's got the 105 gun for the Americans. What's that thing called? I can't remember its name. But anyway,
Yeah.
so basically, what the Americans they wanted an armored reconnaissance scout vehicle or ARSV, and 5 companies went for this contract. And unfortunately, they wanted to replace the M113 and the M114 fighting vehicles, and the contract didn't go take anywhere really. So, but what this project did lead to was the valuable experience that was used in the. Okay, I'm screwing this all up. So this led to the Bradley coming into existence, and this was a joint venture between Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom, and the US for a common vehicle. But then they all separated and they all went their ways, and the project didn't go any further. I'm a bit unprepared for this article because I didn't read it completely. But two variants. There's actually more than two variants. There was no two variants. Yes, two variants were proposed. Was the XM 800T and the XM800W. The W is the wheeled variant, that's the W, and the T is the track variant, of course, T for
Which is
track.
this interesting bastard.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
T for track, W for wheels, which
yes.
is actually really smart for a change in the US.
Yeah. So that's basically the quick and short about it. I couldn't find if they were fully production, but it looks like according to these pictures, they were. Some were made or for trials. But yeah, basically pretty cool vehicle armed with a, I think that's a 20 millimeter Bushmaster.
Bushmaster, yeah, it looks like it. It's look, I mean, in this particular kind of vehicle, you obviously are limited because this is really small. I think the height of it was less than 2 meters, so it's a really small vehicle. This is supposed to be something that can be used not only for an airdroppable purpose, but also for something like scouting behind enemy lines, deep penetration recon. So it's extremely lightly armored. It's got a feisty little cannon here that'll bite the nose off any tank, but that's about as far as it'll go. I'm assuming this is either a 303 or a 50 cal. I'm not quite sure what's going on the left of this turret here, but it looks like a light of some kind. So maybe it's got a very limited night vision capability. Overall, it looks really cool. I think this would be the M22 of, say, 5.0 to 7.7. Like, I think this would be the big brother of the M22, the Locust. Like, that's what I get
Yes,
the vibe of when I look
yes,
at this.
yes.
I think Locust, but bigger. But yeah, is there anything else on this particular tank?
Like I said, I haven't read the article very much completely. But yeah, I just thought it is a pretty cool tank that I thought could actually come and have a place in War Thunder for a. I mean, there's two variants of it, so you could have your pick. You could have the
Mm,
tracked variant, or the wheeled variant could be maybe a GE vehicle, and the tracked vehicle could maybe be a VED vehicle, or other ways around. Or they could add one into the tech tree and one in GE. It depends. It's just there is information on it. I just have to dig a little bit deeper. But it's just so cool. I never knew that this was actually a thing. The six companies that went for the contract was Chrysler, FMC Corporation, Teledyne Continental, Scorpion, Ford, OMDEC. I don't know who those are. Lockheed Missile and Space Company. Those were some of the companies that applied for this tender. So this is the machine that they actually came up with, and it is actually, yeah, it's just so unique. And like I said, many countries worked on this project, so you could pick where you wanted it to go. And we all know
mm.
the Bushmaster is a good gun. We all know American tanks are pretty good in the game with speed, maneuverability, and all of that. So yeah, it will be. I think it will fit in perfectly, and it will be something that'll get the players a bit more excited than another
Excited. Yeah.
another F-16, another P-51 Mustang, another Abrams. After that big controversy.
Oy, don't even let that's a whole other spiel on its own. But anyway, yeah, I agree there with Easy. Like, I mean, I was just thinking now as well, a lot of the player base rather is centered around the lower ranks of War Thunder, right? So if Gaijin wants to keep making money, yes, obviously there are people that are going to pay for top tier shit, without a doubt, right? But a lot of the market that guys available to them is at the lower ranks. So employing this kind of stuff to lower ranks, not only is it more sensible for Gaijin, but it's also going to generate a lot more interest. This
Yes.
kind of stuff, all the stats are known, everything is there, and the stuff that isn't there you can fudge pretty easily, I think. But that's
Yes.
just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's why I've picked. And with all my stuff that I pick, I try pick an early tier, mid tier, and a reasonably kind of between 8,
Mm.
BR8 to 9. I try get a balance between the stuff. As everyone knows, I play from BR1 to 6, but my mainstay is 3.7. So, but I try think, and I think Canaman is the same. He's a heavy naval player, so and an air player. Um, to try to find everyone's middle point is a bit difficult, and that's why I like teaming up with him because it gives a different what's the correct word, Canaman?
Perspective.
Perspective to a side. So yeah, it's just unique things that we are trying to find to the game and to find for everybody something.
So the vehicle that I had in mind wasn't the Saracen, but it was the Scorpion. That's
The
what I.
Scorpion,
So
yeah.
if you look at the similarity between XM 800T and the FV 101 Scorpion, I mean they are so similar, right?
I think that's maybe where they
These.
got the idea.
Mm. Well, I mean,
Maybe-
this was made late. I would assume it was made later. I don't know. But anyway, let us move on. So now we are getting into my bit of the video. So if you
yes,
guys have not fallen asleep, then by this point, please do me a favor, jump up and down, do some cartwheels, grab a glass of water, look after yourselves. If you want, go take a stroll, grab some fresh air, whatever the case is. If you're at work and you're watching this, you naughty, naughty boy. But yeah, let's get on into my one just to wake you guys up. Right. Also, if you enjoy what we're doing at the moment and you like our vibe, please consider again liking, subscribing, commenting. It does really help us out. And I'll try and go through my stuff as quickly as possible so that I don't keep you guys too long. But we've got six, as you can see here, we've got six tanks that I'd like to cover. And we're going to start out with the Maresel, I believe is how it is pronounced. Again, I'm not Romanian, so if you guys are, please feel free to correct me in the comment section. But this was a Romanian produced light tank destroyer from the Second World War, and as Romania was an Axis power, a lot of the vehicles that we're facing were obviously the Allies. So, in this period of time where this particular tank was made, we're just going to call it the Marshall. It was facing off against the T-34s and the KV-1 tanks. Those who play War Thunder will know that those are pretty scary tanks at the BR that they sit at if you are not familiar with their armor layout. And even if you are, the KV1 especially is a very scary tank to come across. There's a very, very limited amount of cannons. Sorry, there are a very limited amounts of cannons that can penetrate the KV1, and the T-34 is so well designed that its armor layout is just really good. So a total of 1,000 of these vehicles were planned for production, which would have made the Marshal the backbone of the Romanian armored forces, making them incredibly key to the defense of the Romanian homeland, right? So these variants would have been either with 122, 150, or in this case, I think this is a smaller cannon, maybe at a 100 millimeter cannon. I don't see anything else pertaining to this particular variant here, but you're looking at things with various types of armament. So there was also, I think there was one that was planned with a flamethrower. There we go. You've got one that was just armed with machine guns. You've got an AA vehicle here, as you can see. You've got self-propelled howitzer 122. I don't know if this particularly says what the smaller caliber was, but I'm assuming you're looking at something like a 76 or even an 85. Maybe what's the German favorite caliber? Because that's
88.
more likely than not. Yeah, so it would have been an 88 then. No, a 75 millimeter. There we go, in the corner. They hide it away. Sorry, my bad. So you're looking at a whole bunch. In short, you're looking at 122, 150, flamethrower AA, and you're also looking at a 75. So quite a lot to go around. Lots of versatility in its design. But apparently, this tank, if we look over here in this little block here, it would have been heavily based off not only the Stur and the Stug, but also off the Hetzer SPG and tank destroyer. So it would have been a really, really interesting tank to see. And I'm sure operating this thing was not an easy job, just going off the design. But it's I don't think as nearly as armored as what the Hetzer is. If I look at the armor package here, you're looking at 20 millimeters front, so it's slightly less than the Hetzer with 10 on the side and 40 millimeters on the top and bottom. So really not a heavily armored SPG, but maybe that makes it fast. I don't quite know. Look, I mean, it only weighs 8.5 tons, so it's incredibly light. I don't know what the engine kind of would have been. It's a Hotchkiss H39 for those who do know, with 120 horsepower. But I think this would have made it a fairly mobile platform, which is very interesting. But that's the one. So the Maresel tank destroyer from Romania, with all
Now,
its calibers and
coming
fun
back,
stuff.
coming back to that
Yeah.
Morrisell, I've been looking
Mm.
at that for a while, and you actually beat me to it. Do a video on it. Um,
Ha ha ha.
it is actually a very, very interesting, and the whole history when going to that side of the war, the Eastern Front, was pretty interesting. I mean, Hitler screwed up big time there with his allies, the Romanians, the Yugoslavians, and all of those. He screwed up big time. And it was covered, I can't remember, by another YouTuber a while back. And he says all the German prototypes, Germany actually produced a shit ton of prototypes of tanks that they never put into production. And
Mm.
when the Romanians and then I went to Hitler and said, we need tanks, because they didn't have big tank forces and the tanks they had were hopelessly outdated.
Yeah, interwar period tanks.
Yeah, Hitler showed them kind of the middle finger and told them to go make another plan. Then Hitler was giving them captured Soviet stuff like T-26s, stuff that was obsolete by the time the war hit the Romanian doorstep on their
Mm.
doorstep. But the Romanians saw the shit coming and they were trying to plan around for it. But unfortunately, a lot of politics was involved in the design of that tank and it made it a bit too late for the war. But something that Canaman touched on, 20 millimeters. But what's the slope on that 20 meters? 20 millimeters. That
You're looking at probably like 45, so that's quite a large effective. I think you're looking at about 85 millimeters
millimeters of
effective.
thick armor. So all round, it would have been, I think, that is going to be the same like the SAV 20. It's going to be
Mm.
a slinger. The shells are going to be bigger and it's not auto loaded. But I think if that thing's going to hit a tank, it's going to hurt you. You're going to know that
Yeah, I
something
mean,
was.
like imagine it's also got such a low profile. I mean, imagine this thing sitting on Poland or something, right?
Yeah,
You can't see it because it's so low and it's got such a high slope of or degree of slippage, right? And this thing's lobbing a 122, a 150, or even a 75 at you from a position you don't even know,
yeah,
and you getting impacted from the side, the front, whatever, you're gonna feel that. I mean, like even if you're in a KV1, a Sherman, whatever, you're gonna feel that.
yeah. I mean,
And if you're in an open top, heaven help you because that's an HE round coming for your face.
and
But yeah, I think
you play arcade. I play realistic, so I've got a bit of better because I get the name tag
mm,
on top. Now imagine an arcade player trying to find that thing in Poland between all the hills.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
It's gonna be a
insane.
pain in the ass. But yeah, very nice. That one I do agree 100% with. I do like that one. This beast.
So this one, when it loads, is arguably one of my favorite little things that I have found. I genuinely love this whole design and aesthetic. It really looks it looks so steampunky, but like alien at the same time. Like the aliens kind of saw our tanks and they were like, "Well, this is our best interpretation, so that we don't look suspicious. Like, don't be suspicious," kind of thing. Like I really love the design of this tank, and it is so derpy. I hope somebody in Gaijin watches this because this is just absolutely hilarious. But this is the Schofield tank, as you guys have been able to see. This was designed by a New Zealander and a New Zealand tank design during the Second World War. This was developed when, in 1940, it seemed that the Pacific War might actually reach New Zealand's doorstep, and not only New Zealand but Australia. And there was a very, very small, if not impossible, likelihood that Britain was going to be sending tanks um, And I mean, at this point, as well, the US hasn't entered the war either, so they're not counting on the US to be sending anything their way. But that is the situation that greets the New Zealanders, is that they need a tank. Britain's not helpful at this point, or it doesn't look like they're going to be helpful. So they go, well, how are we going to do? Bear in mind, at this point, New Zealand has no tank industry. They've got railroads, and that's about it. Hence why we had the Bob Semple.
I
But
was going to say that.
Mr. Ernest, yeah, I mean, I considered covering the Bob Temple, but I thought this was a bit better. So in June of 1914, and one Ernest James Schofield, a motor vehicle dealer for General Motors in Wellington, so GM in the US, has a branch in Wellington at this point, and he approaches Mr. M.P. William Theophilus Anderton, what a hell of a name, for an idea for a fighting vehicle that could run on tracks or wheels, which is why we have this really strange design here in the corner. So he bases his chassis off the Chevrolet, off a Chevrolet chassis with a long 100-weight truck suspension, basically. And he's using the suspension from so the chassis is a 100-weight truck, so a 300-kilo weighted suspension with chassis with the suspension from a universal carrier. There we go. I'll get the words right eventually, I promise. And wheels can be either bolted or carried normally or attached directly to the axle, so it's a really versatile tank. But we don't need to know all of that. That's just extra fun stuff. It's fitted with a QF 2-pounder gun, which is at this point also the mainstay anti-tank / artillery gun for most of the British Empire. Again, going into World War II, the Brits have put weapon R&D on the back foot by and large. So the QF 2-pounder gun and the Bisa machine gun as its coaxial, that's a 7.62, nothing hectic there, or 7.92, sorry. But yeah, I mean, like, I really, really like this tank because it's just so derpy and so steampunky. Like, imagine you playing this in War Thunder. Look, this is not a rank 2 tank in any kind of. This
No.
is definitely rank 1. You're looking at absolute max 3.3, and I wouldn't push more than that. So this is a low tier frontier tank, right? And it's just really derpy. I like it. I think it's awesome. But yeah, let us carry on. If there's anything you'd like to add, Easy?
This time of history when the Australians came up with the Bob Simpson tank, and New Zealand and Australia was pretty bad off. They were worried about the Japanese. I think
Yeah.
Australia was one of their towns or their cities on the coast was already bombed by the Japanese. A small bombing force was sent over. It wasn't very big. It was very small. I do know a little bit about that bombing run that happened against Australia. And
Yeah.
they did request tanks from Britain, but unfortunately, at the evacuation of Dunkirk, Britain decided to leave the entire or majority of their tank and armored vehicles in France for the Germans.
In France.
So
Like,
they,
yeah, here's some scrap metal. Have fun.
yeah, so they never had much to spare for their colonies. I mean, India was in the same position. New Zealand, Australia, they were all in the same. The Philippines, all of this, not the Philippines. What's that other one? Okay, but anyway,
Malaysia.
Malaysia, they were all in the same position. The only country that was a little bit better off that had at least the industry to manufacture their own armored vehicles, and that was South Africa, because we produced a lot of our own stuff. But New Zealand and Australia were in a very bad position at that time. They had the Japanese knocking on their doorstep. The Americans weren't in the war yet. It was only much later, till the Americans got involved, that they received their Crusader tanks. I think it was Crusaders was the first bunch of tanks they received from Britain. But it was much later. And then they received Stuarts from
Yeah.
America
By
as
and
well.
large.
Yeah. They received also quite a bit of Stuarts from America. So it just one of those tanks that were born out of necessity. And I know we take a lot of punts at like the Bob Simpson and that, but there's an old saying: if you got a dog back to the wall, or dog is cornered, what's he gonna do? He's gonna bite back. So they were in the corner. They had their backs to the wall. They were at least thinking of something. They weren't like a lot of other countries that just sit there and said, "All right, we give up." They were at least they were trying. And I
Mm.
think this is what makes this vehicle so unique and so cool, and what needs to be remembered, quite frankly, because just of that initiative they took to build this thing. I mean, don't know how it
Yeah,
would
no,
have performed.
absolutely.
I don't think it would
Look,
have.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it would have been top tier, but like,
Yeah.
I mean, to give you guys some, so I'm currently listening to a podcast called The Principles of War by James Elbing, I think his name is. If you haven't heard of that podcast and you're into war and stuff, I highly suggest it. Super well done. Man is a reservist in the he's a major general reservist in the Australian Armed Forces at the moment. So he knows what he's talking about. And at this point in time, remember now that Australians, they don't have a standing force. They've got a militia defending the
Mm.
home island. The New Zealanders, the Kiwis are not in a much better position, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Kiwis don't have a lot of heavy industry. They've got things like railroads and car manufacturing and stuff, but they don't have heavy steel industry, right? Which is required to make tanks. And likewise with the Aussies, they don't have a lot of heavy industry, which is required to make a tank. Because a lot of that gets put into the British Raj and also into Southern Africa, basically from Namibia down. So present day South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, um, and the like. So you've got this desperate need to build something to fill a gap of defense. You've also got to bear in mind that this tank is not, again, meant to fight heavier German tanks, right? This tank is
Mm.
meant to fight things like the Kini, the
Yes.
Chiha. You know, it's not meant to fight heavy tanks. And the Japanese tanks at this time are really lightly armored, and they continue to be lightly armored throughout the whole war. So this is not a heavy armored fighter, right? So it's not punching above its weight class here. And if anything, the lack of armor makes it more survivable because there's less shrapnel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also bear in mind at this point, you've got the British are beating the retreat big time from Malaya. The Australians are getting hammered in Malaysia. The Kiwis are also really not looking much better across the rest of the fronts. So it's a pretty desperate situation. And as Easy said, Australia is already coming under threat from Japanese carrier-borne airstrikes, albeit not in a massive number. It is enough to cause concern. And there's actually stuff that I want to cover in another video where we talk about the other sort of aircraft that were brought about out of necessity. But this is, again, as Easy said, this is a tank born out of necessity. And for what it is, I mean, it's a really good tank. I mean, the the 2 pounder is nothing to scoff at. It's the
Nothing.
same that was on the Crusader.
Yes.
So I mean, we think about the Crusader sits at 3.3 and it's capable of punching up to 4.0. So it's a pretty capable weapon platform. I say weapon platform. The gun is a pretty capable weapon. So yeah, but enough said and done about the Schofield. Let's move on quickly and to speak about the exact opposite side of that exact same front. We're talking about the Japanese Type 95 heavy tank,
I
quote
know
unquote.
nothing about this thing.
Neither do I. So this is going to be a fun one. This one is
Yeah.
the Kugoshiki Jusensha, which is Japanese for the Type 95, and it's the final sort of result, I suppose, of multi-turreted Japanese design. It was commissioned during the time period between World War One and World War Two, so it would have been the interwar tank. And by the time that it sort of came through, it would have probably, if I have to guess, been obsolete because there was
Mm.
no recorded, uh, I want to say, use of this tank. But yeah, I suppose that's exactly it. There's no recorded use or disbursement or deployment of this tank, at least that I've been able to find. So Type 95, you're looking at here. So you're looking at about 35 millimeters of armor. So really not a whole lot. Again, a consistent theme with Japanese tanks is they're not very well armored up until Cold War period. So you're looking at 35 millimeters of armor at absolute max. You've got a 70 millimeter tank gun with one 37 mil and then two 6.5 millimeter MGs. So 37 millimeter tank gun, sorry, just to put in there. And that's really about it. It's a derpy tank. I mean, I'll enlarge this picture here. So it kind of looks like one of the other tanks that I'm going to cover soon. But this is, I believe, the same chassis that was put onto the Roko naval gun. So they took out the top, basically, they cut a line across the top here and they slapped the naval gun on it. But yeah, that's it. Nothing really too much to this tank.
You know what? This
But then we go
is
on to, sorry, yeah?
that tank is similar to something you would face with the Shaw the Shaw C1. Shaw, what did that friend? The
Yeah, the Shah 2C,
yeah,
the World War One
yeah,
monster behemoth. Well, I say World War One, commissioned in World War One interwar period tank.
period. Yeah,
It's exactly the same. It was
it's
commissioned in the Second World War, was a bit too late. Sorry, for the First World War, was a bit late for the First World War. Served that interwar period, and by the time Second World War rolled around, it was obsolete in a lot of
obsolete.
ways.
So
That 70 millimeter was not squeeze board or rifled. It was really underpowered. A
yeah,
lot of issues with the tank,
so
especially specifically from the engine,
so
actually, which is quite interesting.
even if they put that thing in production, like most Japanese tanks, I'm sure the Stuart would have shot right through it. Um,
Oh yeah, I mean 35 millimeters of armor. Look, I mean Stuart
it's
might have had some issues with
no,
it,
but I'm
but
just using an
side on.
example.
Yeah, but like I mean 35 millimeters was at the front, right? The rest of
Yeah,
the tank is 12.
yeah. And the Stuart
So
was a
Stuart would have
nippy
been able
tank.
to
It was a
outflank it and shoot
yeah.
it through the side.
Um,
No problem.
and with the Pacific campaign, um, for starters, the whole Japanese doctrine with tanks was they needed to be light to ship them to the island. So that
Mhm.
thing would have been a ship on its own almost to get it across. When they get it on the island, the first American aircraft flying over would have bombed the living crap out of it because it would have been seen from space. So
Yeah, I mean it wasn't a small tank.
no, it was a. It's also one of those as the New Zealand tank, as all the other tanks that we've covered so far. Just so damn cool, so damn nice. It's really just a very cool tank. It's a very nice idea that came a bit too late for its time.
Mhm.
That's all. And island
Yeah, I mean, if
hopping,
that thing had been on the field in World War One, I think it would have been quite an interesting tank.
a chick
To be very honest.
in Europe. If that thing was in Europe, I would have given the AV7, what the 7VA whatever that German tank. It would
Yeah,
have
the German one. I wouldn't have given it much of a chance there.
yeah, it would have even given the British tanks a hiding. The that thing. It
I
was
can have
really
chocolate.
really a very modern tank for that
Yeah.
time. Yeah, it was really, it's just so nice. But this, I think, is a pretty cool tank that you're gonna, or artillery piece that you're gonna cover now.
Yeah, so interesting thing, this has a modern cousin, I guess, descendant. I forget what the name is now, but I have mentioned it in a previous YouTube video, so if you guys want to go and have a look for that, it'll be in my channel under warthunder vehicles, I believe. But this is an Italian SPG self-propelled gun slash artillery piece designed in 1942. The Simovente da 149-40. Right. Yes, I did kind of go dash 40 in an Italian accent to make it sound all flowery, but regardless, again, your standard open top SPG, nothing too particularly heavy here, right? It is a basically 150 millimeter gun. It's just shy of that. So look, I mean, obviously this thing is made to bombard long range targets. But that being said, this vehicle, I mean, we look at long range target weapon systems in War Thunder, the Paladin as an example. You look at the Archer. Um, you look at the two S1s as an example, the two S2s as well, I believe they are called, or the two SMs. All of these big HE slingers, the ALF as an example, all of them have this capability. So it wouldn't be the first thing to be there, and certainly not the first thing in the Italian tech tree. And this would be an actual Italian army vehicle. It wouldn't be in a Hungarian vehicle like the 2S1 is. And even then, the 2S1 is not actually a Hungarian vehicle, it's a Russian spin off vehicle. But yeah, this is it. Again, nothing hectic. Open top. It's a 150 millimeter ish gun. Tracked, really not fast. It's yeah, I mean, the petrol engine with 250 HP.
That's nothing.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere quickly with that.
Uh-uh.
But yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's just really interesting because we don't have many of these kind of weapons in the game. So yeah,
You know,
moving on quickly
and Gadget can actually
to the.
implement that because
We'll go to this one first, and then we'll go to the other one. I'll save the best one for last.
Gadget can actually implement that Salvante. Because we've got that other Italian anti-tank vehicle that's also some what's that bloody thing's name now? It was a paid in that Italian 3.74 lineup. But anyway, They can implement that.
Yeah.
It's not too hard. And the Italians get a lot of shit, in my opinion, for their tanks. But if you
Mm.
actually play the Italians, they actually got some very fun tanks to play. Not the
Oh
best
yeah.
armor, and they have got so many more designs out there that they were working on. It just comes back to same like the Australians and the New Zealands and sorry, a lot of different places. The industry was not capable of producing them. They had these big dreams, but they just couldn't do anything with it. And they got such a unique, such a cool design, they got just really nice tanks, and I can't wait to see
Yeah.
more of them implemented into the game. It'll really, you could take the Italians and almost make put them alongside the British with all their designs. Really, you
Oh
could.
yeah. No, I mean, like the Italian design philosophy, as much as it's artistic, it's also extremely unique and functional in that regard as well.
Yeah, it was all
So yeah.
bored around what they thought their needs were. The early tanks were thought, okay, we got to fight in the Alps. Then they later found out, no, we fight it out in the desert because of our cuckoo leader. Then they landed up,
And
oh
then
no,
our balls,
yeah,
we're fighting in Greece now.
yeah, we fight it in Greece, we fight it in France. Oh shit, we got to go fight now in the Western Front in the mud in Russia. So as
Yeah.
their
I
needs
mean, the
changed,
Italians literally fought from east to west. Yeah.
yeah, as their plans changed, they were like really working on new designs. A lot of those designs weren't implemented because they never had the damn industry to implement them. And the
Or
Germans
they were
screwed
being
them.
bombed.
Yeah, and the Germans screwed them. But yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to this fascinating machine you got in front of you.
So this strange little wheelie boy, you'll notice actually that this looks like an A13 turret, right? It looks very reminiscent of the A13 turret, and you would not be entirely mistaken. So this is a car armored heavy vehicle or armored heavy car, whatever you want to call it. Basically, an advanced recon car with a bit more armor than what you usually put on something like this, and it is known as the Rhino. And it was designed during the Second World War, and due to enemy action and design problems, the project never got beyond the prototype stage, which is a real pity. Because this little thing, I think, would have been super awesome to see on the Pacific front. I mean, this thing was super light, 8.5 tons. It's got wheels, so it's got a lot more versatility to Pacific commanders at this point in time. But yeah, basically your standard armored car, no armor, millimeters. It's also got harkening back to the Schofield tank, where you've got that 2 pounder QF gun. This is a 40 millimeter though, with or I say 40 millimeters. It's the Mark II, so slightly better variant of the same gun. But yeah, I mean this one uses a Canadian military pattern truck chassis and engine produced by General Motors in Canada, and rear-engined model 8466. Fuck, I can't read. Sorry, 8446. There we go. Uh, with a GMC Model 270 engine. So it's got the chassis of a Canadian truck in essence, produced by General Motors in Canada, and then the General Motors Canada Model 270 engine rear mounted. So it's got a rear engine, lots of space in the front. So if you think about it, actually, this would be the Aussie equivalent of the Sark 1, I guess,
Yeah.
in that regard.
But what I would do with this, because at the BR where it will sit, I mean, I would presume max would be about 3.7 for this. I wouldn't put it
Yeah,
in as
even
a
lower.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it in as a tech tree vehicle. I would put this in as a GE. And
Mm.
my reasons why is because with all the South African wheeled vehicles at that coming into that game,
Mm.
especially at that BR, it's just gonna flood the British light vehicle lineup.
Yeah, you don't need more.
Yeah, and it's not gonna be much different to the South African. I think it might have a bit more armor than the South African vehicles there. So I would put this
Yeah.
in as a GE vehicle. Really, it's where I would put it in. I think it
But
will
that's again also it's going to supplement that line in that role, which is what
roll.
a GE vehicle is supposed to do.
Mm.
It's not meant
So
to be a lineup on its own.
Oh, yeah, but that's my view on it. I don't know if you guys let us know in the comments if you think I'm incorrect in that assumption. But yeah, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, like also let us know where you think the other ones think. What is your favorite so far? I know I'm going to get to one that a lot of people really like, and I think a lot of people have been calling for it for April's April Fool anniversary thing, vehicle kind of play, event
I
vehicle. I don't even know what to call it now at this point, but
I
we're gonna get to
screenshot
that one.
that
We're
thing.
saving the best for last. So we're almost there, guys. We're saving the best one for last. But yeah, I mean, coming back to this vehicle in particular, I mean, again, you look at the situation in the Pacific at this point in time, and this vehicle really just was. It
Needed.
would have been perfect had they kind of just gone through. And obviously, I mean, enemy action, design problems, resourcing problems. And I know exactly what enemy action they're talking about here, and they're talking about the Japanese submarines and the Air Force shutting down supply lines. Um, so it did make it very difficult for these guys to produce anything, not even just armored vehicles, like trucks, literally anything,
Anything, yeah.
right? And then you also take to account that the German Navy is blockading Britain, so there's nothing coming in or out of Britain, and they're in the Atlantic, sorry, so they're stopping convoys there. And then you've got the Italian Navy basically in control of the Med for a large part of it when it's operating, if not in control of the Med in certain parts. I'm not saying in control of the whole Med, just bear that in mind. I know people are going to slag me for that, but in control of certain parts of the Med. But then you've also got U-boats, Italian subs, sorry. You got the Japanese Navy going absolutely ham in the Pacific. So it's very difficult to get supplies anywhere powers until the US enters the war, essentially. But this is it. Um, yeah, the Rhino heavy armored car, I really like it. I think it's really cute.
I think it's
I
cool.
don't know about unique because we've already got the SARC vehicle that's very similar to this, but I think it's very cute. I think it's very special. And I
Yes.
think the history behind it, the Anzac troops, and this is my gripe quickly, the Anzac troops in War Thunder, they don't receive half as much credit as what they should. And I know a lot of Anzac guys are going to agree with me in that, and I know a lot of other people will probably agree with me. But I get the feeling that Anzac forces are kind of just brushed over. There's not even mention of them in the aviation aspect with the decals and
I
stuff, or at
agree.
least there's not a massive mention, which there really should be because a lot of the guys that were fighting the really tough battles, I mean, Malaysia as an example, most of the defending was done by Anzac guys,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the sad thing about it. And as a result, I think we need to kind of preserve that heritage, that cultural and historical contribution that was so valuable.
You know,
But anyway, let us go on to the last and
um,
arguably, I think, my most interesting vehicle, the Rata, the Land
oh,
Cruiser.
oh,
This is a German I suppose experimental tank. Not it was never built. It's a paper tank. I mean, most of us will know this, and a lot of people will have seen this done by people who cover like insane projects on YouTube, and they do all sorts of CGI and AI stuff, whatever, whatever, whatever. But I'm just going to use Wikipedia because no copyright infringements. But the rat would have been massive. I mean, you can see the size comparison here. Here's a tiny little pea-brain human. Here's the mouse, which we already know in game is a massive fucking tank, right? And then you've got the tiger, which is even smaller than the mouse. And then there's the rat, which is like 6 freaking mouses long or mice long, however you want to purify that, right? It's got an insane amount of armament and armor, except this thing moves like an absolute slug. It is so slow, right? But let's get into the specs. So you're looking at about 1,000 tons or 1,100 short tons, 980 long tons, estimated ballpark figures. You're looking at 35 meters in length, and 39 meters with all the guns facing forward, right? So an extra 4 meters come from just the guns, which is insane, right? And then you've got the 14 meters in width, the 11-meter high. So this thing's basically what, 2 stories, 4 stories? Uh, tall. Interestingly small amount of crew. It's only 20 as max as 41. Like something you would imagine being so big. You kind of go like, oh shit, this has got a massive crew. But no, only 20 to 40 people. You've got 360 millimeters of armor, which is, I'm going to be very honest with you, more than some ships in War Thunder.
yeah.
Which is actually just crazy, right? Then you've got 2 times 280 millimeter guns. These would have been fitted to the sort of naval aspect, so Scharnhorst, and also a couple of the other cruisers in the German Navy and the Kriegsmarine. Then you've also got one Impact 44, which is quite interesting. the one little lonesome Pack 44 on his own. You've got two 37 millimeter guns. You've got 24 20 millimeter AA guns, 24 30 millimeter AA guns, and four 15 millimeter autocannons, as well as four 7.92 millimeter machine guns. So quite a lot of armament directed mostly at small targets, aircraft, infantry, which would have been the biggest threat to this vehicle had it been built.
Well,
Then you've got somehow only eight Daimler Benz marine diesel engines. But then again, you've also got times two. So it's either eight of those or two man 24 cylinder marine diesel engines, which I'm going to be honest with you, those are the kind of engines that they're putting in the Gneisenhaus, Scharnhorst, and destroyers. So lots of horsepower. So at this point, you're looking at 16 to 17,000 horsepower. You got 2 meter ground. Sorry, I can't say that. Ground clearance. There we go. Of the tank. So it's about 2 meters off the ground from the hull plate bottom to the actual dirt itself. But yeah, this is obviously an extremely defensive tank. It's not crossing any bridges. It's not breaking any land speed records. Heck, I don't think it's breaking any road speed records. Never mind land speed records. Like this thing is so it's big, it's clunky, and an insane amount of resources, I'd imagine. So yeah, not the most ideal tank. I think if the Nazis had oh shit, I think I just turned my monitor off. But anyway, if the Nazis had won or at least succeeded in a large part of their war, I think this might have been something that was built sort of as a Wunderwaffe, a method of control. A tank to not really do anything per se other than be a mobile fort, but a tank that's kind of there to inspire fear. If you've played Wolfenstein, you'll get the kind of idea I'm going for. A lot of the Wolfenstein projects are, I think, how this tank would have played out IRL. But yeah, I mean, cancelled in 1943. The project was somewhat proposed. And I mean, that being said, considering the fact that the two mouse were built, right? Um, I don't think if the war had gone on longer and the Germans had had some more success, I think it would have been very likely that this kind of vehicle would have been built, especially come 1942 when the plans were presented, right? So, I mean, in just a year, that's when they decided to cut the project. So, yeah, I mean, it could have really gone further. And bear in mind, the war ended in Europe 1944, and in Japan it ended in 1945. So there was still quite a lot of fighting going on by this time. And look, I mean, the Germans at this point are running out of resources, but yeah, I mean, we're here to talk about War Thunder tanks, not the history. So let me shut up about that and say this, I think, would be a very interesting tank, not as a event or a premium, but I think it would be a very interesting tank to see in an April Fool's event, actually.
yeah, just like a fool's event.
Like,
I agree. Yeah.
yeah, like just have everybody running around in like these really obscene Landskrieger P1000s, right?
Yeah.
And just absolute destruction.
Coming back just to something you said, I just got like two little things I want. I cringe at this thing, but like you say, just as an event vehicle, like just like a fun 1 week or 2 week event where you just like run around with this and you fight. What they could even do, what will even be a pretty cool thing, is you take this thing and then maybe take top tier, and you have like this future war. Like we've had documentaries and games over this type of thing where the Germans succeeded in one multiverse and they invade another multiverse. Yeah, just something along those lines. I think would be freaking awesome to play and pretty cool to see how Abrams and a Leopard and a T90 would stand up to this thing. But coming to something to that Cannon Man was talking about the history and that, the Japanese actually bought one Tiger tank, Tiger One, the first production Tiger. And when the Admiralty and the Germans got together and they're like, okay, smartass, we the Japanese have bought this thing. How are we going to send it to them?
Mm,
They had no, there was not a plan
sorry.
to get a Tiger to Japan. So the logistics to
Yeah,
this
it was.
thing would have been magnificent. Imagine the amount of fuel trucks following this thing. It would have been like in, I want to mention what
Yeah.
happened over there somewhere in Europe with a 90 mile kilometer supply line. But
But yeah, yeah, a completely unrelated topic. Like,
yeah,
the totally is like fictional, absolutely like nonsense.
that
Don't worry, guys. We do know exactly what we're talking about. We're trying to keep it away
yeah,
from that. But yeah, I mean,
the,
exactly that. The fuel,
the
like,
truck
frick.
line
Imagine
that
how much ammunition,
I mean,
like moving the ammunition, because these are like what, two 280 millimeters
yeah, I mean,
of weight.
I'm talking under correction. What I know about this tank, when they were asked by Hitler, what are they going to arm the main guns with? Hitler turned around and said, "Strip the ships."
Yeah, he did actually. Those are
Yeah,
his exact wording.
yeah,
Was we'll take it from the ships, or strip the
yeah,
ships. And I
because
mean, like, also at this point, remember the Kriegsmarine is still fighting in the Atlantic and the limited reach of the Atlantic and the,
it
I want to
it
say, the Baltic Sea,
it
but yeah,
is it is
basically.
just an insane vehicle. It's bonkers. I mean, same with like I was told last when we were talking about the video idea last night. This video, one of the guys I play Daisy. You guys will soon be meeting him in my Daisy videos if I ever get around to recording that. Um, he turned around. What was his word? He said he gave me a suggestion. He said, "What about that Russian double barrel tank that they were working on?"
Yeah, I mean, like, I heard that
Uh,
and I had a chuckle about it because I was like, yeah, I mean,
the,
frick.
the and this is what also makes it what I've been saying the whole time. What makes these things so unique is someone actually thought about this crap. You know, someone actually sat there and like,
I mean, it was,
oh,
but like, also, like, not only that, this was seriously considered,
said it. It
which is
was.
craziest part of it.
Yeah, it was called. It was actually. I mean, all these things that we've suggested to now is not
Yeah, I mean,
fictional Warhammer 40K type of vehicles that we were joking about last night. Even though
except for this thing.
we have spoken about doing a video on that. Yeah, keep a watch out. There's interesting things coming. This was actual things that were thought about by humans sitting either in a barn or in a workshop or in an office or licking his boss's ass to accept his proposal to get a promotion.
In this case, I think this one was done in a bar, if I have to be very honest. I
I'm
think this
not
one was
sure.
legitimately done in some beer putsch hall or in beer hall in Munich, maybe the same one Hitler was in,
I don't know. It's
because like this thing is absolutely insane. But again, as Easy said, these things have all been, thought out by someone who was actually trying to do something, right? And I mean, we look at all the vehicles Easy's mentioned, we look at all the ones that I've mentioned. I mean, even the Rhino
mm,
wasn't just a paper tank, right? It did have a prototype built. And this is almost exactly the same. The only difference is there wasn't actually a prototype built for this. But I mean, the plans were done. It was seriously considered. I mean, you guys can read here. Submitted designs and drawings for the vehicle under the names OKH, Auftrag 3404 and E3044-1, which were presented in December 1942. The tank was planned to be 1,000 tons, far heavier than the Panzer 8 Maus, heaviest tank ever built, weighing 188 tons.
I
The
mean,
project gained the approval of Adolf Hitler, shocker there,
yeah.
who expressed interest in the development of the tank, but was ultimately cancelled by one Minister of Armaments, Albert Speer, in early 1943. So this was all actually considered quite realistically. And look, I mean, a lot of people give Hitler gas, or I say gas. A lot of people view
Puns.
Hitler as this insane, I mean, they view him as this insane, decrepit old man towards the end of the war who was just desperate to win, right? And yes, while in large part that is somewhat true, there is still a rational element of his brain sitting in there. And I mean, the fact that this Albert Speer, right, only cancelled it a year early-ish in 1943, right? Look, again, at this point, we don't know exactly how early in 1943, but if I had to guess, it wasn't done in January or February
No.
because they kind of entertained the idea and they actually did start r- doing feasibility studies and such. So this was a very seriously considered design, right? Which is crazy. And then they kind of realized, oh shit, we have to take the Scharnhorst guns, and that's not great, right? But yeah,
When I
that's
see
I think
this,
all that we have.
When I
Yep.
see
Sorry.
this, I imagine those engineers at Porsche, Volkswagen, Krupp, all those places getting this plans dumped on their table, looking at this and like
And going,
calling
what the fuck?
calling the workshop foreman in, or the guy that's on the floor, in charge of the workers there, or the slaves, whatever they were using,
Mm.
looking at this and saying, but they want us to build 20 King Tigers this month, but they want us to build a land spaceship this size in such a short period, but we
Yeah.
can't even push out. I could just be imagining those engineers like, are you serious?
No,
Where's the camera?
those
Is
engineers
this?
must have gone. Those engineers would have gone like, please make this make sense. Like, my dude, how? With what? Like exactly that. Like in exactly that manner. I think they would have just absolutely. I actually think I would. I think they would have all resigned. I genuinely think they all would have
Just
resigned. They would have taken one look at this and gone, "Nah, I'm not entertaining this no more. I'm going to the US. Cheers, mate."
because they
And
had
as a group, unionized and buggered off.
because they had so much problems with the Panthers, the Tigers, the King Tigers.
Yeah.
They was trying to work their asses off to sort those teething issues out on those tanks. So now you must have had this colossal thing dropped on your office table, and you're like, "Fuck is this? I'm overworked
Yeah,
and
dude, no,
underpaid
I
for
would have.
this shit."
Yeah, I was just say I would have started drinking there proper if I
Yeah,
got that.
yeah,
But yeah, thankfully for everybody involved, this was cancelled by one Albert Speer. So everybody go pat him on the back, even though he was a Nazi. He did good by getting rid of the Landkrieger. Or
yeah,
maybe he did bad because this would have taken up most of the Germans' time. It's
yeah.
up to you.
They would
But
have
yeah, I
had to
think that
bolt and
is.
they would have had to build a new big shiny factory for the B-17 Liberators to bomb.
They would have actually. Like I think those would have been the only things to be able to bomb this. But yeah. Anywho, I think that's all from my side. I don't have any more to add or to comment on. Easy, anything from you?
No, I think that is the end of it. Thanks for Cannon Gaming for coming out and entertaining this idea. I had a blast. I hope your viewers will enjoy it, and yeah, I hope to see you guys in the subscribe. And also on Cannon side, please subscribe there and go watch the video on his side as well. And hit his subscribe button, hit my subscribe button, do the likes on both sides, the whole smaggle daggle. And come to our Discords. Tell us what you thought about this video. Leave us a comment. If you got a suggestion, come to Discord, drop us, or even just drop it in the. I've had people drop what do they call it? Suggestions in the comments. Um, and if we do take your video, it will be done. We do take it. It might just take a bit of time because I've got quite a bit of a
Mhm.
backlog. As Cannon will know, in my private section in my Discord, there is a lot there. But you do get mentioned in the video that it was your suggestion. I do not take any claims. But if you also help with the research, it's also a great help, because to find some information on a lot of this stuff is actually very hard, guys. And when you, like me and Cannon solo running this all alone, it takes up a good chunk of your time to find all this research and to piece together the pieces. And you don't want to suck out information through your thumb. So
Mhm.
sometimes you got to use many different articles to make one, to make something,
Complete picture.
yeah, to make a complete picture. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Kennerman, I'll hand it back to you. You can end us.
Yeah, I mean, hit the nail on the head. We do put a lot of effort. I know it sometimes might not look like it or feel like it because we might be rushing or stuttering or falling over our words. But I mean, like for example, this particular video, this was quite a bit in the making. There was the research that went into it. There was the validating of the research that went into it. It wasn't just like, oh, let me Google that for you and then choosing a tank by random. Like these tanks were chosen specific for various specific means and purposes. As we mentioned, they are either GE tanks, event vehicles. In this case, with the Rat, it is going to be we would put it forward as a event participation vehicle, so not something that stays in the game, but like just as a 2 week thing. Um, and a lot of that is made possible by your guys' engagement and your guys' enthusiasm with our projects that we put out. And again, like I said, we are going to be starting Project Zero fairly soon. There's a couple of things we still need to iron out, but hopefully that gets done in the reasonably near future. And there's also, like, I mean, as Easy said, we take your suggestions. Easy has put up quite a bit from his people. I'd also like to dedicate this particular tank, the Rat. This was actually a favorite of a friend of mine, one Mr. Polar Gut slash Inevitable Bear. So this one goes out to him, and he actually, often kind of gives me advice or suggestions and such. So I owe quite a bit to him, and he is very active in the Discord. And as a result, I take his stuff quite seriously. So if you guys want to be involved, if you guys want to get your name out onto YouTube, it's a really cool thing. Give us a like, give us a sub, and join our Discords, because there's a lot of stuff that we can, you know, I play with my community generally on a Friday night, depending on time and availability. I play with you guys, I interact with you guys, I chat to you guys a lot, and Easy is equally as invested in and involved in his community. So, yeah, guys, I mean, my goal for my channel just for this year is before June to get to 100 subs. I'm presently sitting on 86, and I'd really like that little boost up. I'm a really small channel, but I've got a lot to offer. And Easy's is also a little bit bigger, but he's still a small channel. And I mean, he has so much to offer in so many different categories. And we would really, really appreciate the support. But I'll leave that all in your capable hands, everybody who is watching. Thank you guys so much for listening. I suppose this has become the second episode of the Tankcast. We do have one more of this. On my channel, it is under a playlist. But yeah, there's more of this particular content likely to come in the future. As Easy was saying, we've got a whole bunch of stuff planned. One of those is about a particular 40k universe far, far. But yeah, that's it from my side, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Easy, any last words?
Just FIY, whatever the youngsters say today. I know nothing about the 40k universe.
It's fine. I'm sure we'll learn on the fly.
So
But
I've
thank you,
got a bit of
guys.
reading. Okay, but yeah. Yep.
That's fine. We'll read together. Thank you all so much for watching and listening, if you're listening to this in podcast format. And yeah, links are all in the description below, if I remember. On my side, in Easy's channel, that will be in his description below. He never forgets, which is quite impressive. But thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, bye from me, Candyman Gaming, and cheers from Easy.
Bye bye, everyone. Keep well, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye bye.